Bonjour tout le monde! Today we're going to have another grammar video on le passé composé and we'll see how we can include this tense to speak about our childhood. So stay tuned to find out about mine and Mauritius. Alright, so when we talk about passé composé and you're Anglophones and you're new to it, you might think of it, if you were to translate it literally, it'll be the composed past. Now I know in English we don't have anything of that sort and it sounds a bit even awkward, I should add, when we say that, but think of it when you use a verb to describe anything that's in the past. So it could be yesterday, last week, last month, last year. So it could be any events that you have, whether it be you speaking about your daily routine or whatnot, you can use passé composé, right? Now, with that being said, you might be confused when to use imparfait and passé composé, given the fact that both of them lie in the past. But we can do that in a separate video, so feel free to let me know if you want me to do that. Now, when or how to form it, because contrary to present tense, for instance, that we've seen before, it's just one word. But when it comes to passé composé, you have two words. First of all, you have avoir ou être au présent. So j'ai, je suis, for instance. And then the verb that follows, and usually it's the verb that they're wanting you to convert, it is in participe passé. For instance, j'ai compris would be comprendre, je suis rentré would be rentrer. Right? Now, before going into when to use avoir, when to use être, let's take a look into le participe passé. So this is something that you're going to have to figure out by yourself through practice. It's not something that you can get better at with just one video. So basically, you might, even pause this video and see what this table is telling you. So when you have a verb ending in er, like parler, étudier, etc., you just take off the er and add an e accent aigu. Okay, so of course in French we love exceptions. There might be a lot more exceptions to that, but mainly when you have an er verb, it's usually the ending for the participe passé, an e accent aigu. If you have an ir verb, okay, like sortir, finir, etc., you just take out the ir and you add an I. Same thing with re verb, you take out the andre, okay, and then you just add an is. And then there's re to complicate things. You take that re out and put a t. Now, it might just be very confusing right now. I promise you it gets better with the practice that you're going to be doing after. Okay, and right here I'm going to leave you with some exceptions that I'm not going to go over, but feel free to, like I said, pause the video and put some notes down. Alright, so the thing that bothers a lot of students, and you might know the answer to this already if you've been to a class where your prof taught you which one to use, is whether or not to use avoir ou être. Okay, let's just say with avoir, okay, you can see it in blue here. Sometimes you'll see that the participe passé does not have any accord, right? Any addition to the participe passé if you have a verb, the first one being avoir. But with être, the verb that follows, so the participe passé usually is in accordance to the subject. Okay, so if I were to be talking right now, je suis allée en classe ce matin, I would add an e because I'm a girl. Let's just say if I have two girls now, Judy et Elise sont parties, I will add an es to the participe passé because these are two girls. Okay. Now, if I have a male, so Amadou Kourouma est né en 1927, I'm not going to add anything to it because we're speaking of a male gender. Now, if you were to go back to it, j'ai étudié le français hier. Now, because I'm using avoir, I'm not going to be adding any e to it because, hello, I'm not using être here, I'm using just avoir. Okay, it's the same thing with the verb faire. Now, the real question is, when do I know when to use which, right? Let's thank the Lord for Dr. and Mrs. Vanuchan, because it will give us the infinitive as well as the past participle, participe passé, of those verbs. So If anytime you're confused, look at this table and memorize it for your test because it'll come in handy for you. So any of these verbs, you'll use the auxiliary être, okay? Je suis devenu, je suis revenu, etc. Okay? Let's take a look at some examples. So let's just say take a break and read all of these instructions, but we're gonna go right into it. All right, la classe 102, 202, that was my class last year, but aller au restaurant pour manger des frites. Now, go back to your table. Do we see aller here? Yes. That means you're going to use the verb or the auxiliary être to it. So, et aller. And why am I adding an E is because la classe is feminine. Okay? Alison et Kensley faire leur devoir. Now, let's take a look if faire, is in the table. Yep, we don't see it, so it's going to be avoir. So, because Alison and Kensley is elle au pluriel, it's going to be on fait. Same thing here. Parler. Is it in the table? No. Okay, so it's going to be avoir. And again, I'm not adding an E here because remember, I'm using the verb avoir, not être. It's only with être that you're going to add the accord if need be, okay? Mes amis et moi, and that's nous, right? My friends and I. Monter. Now, again, let's go back to the table right there. Mes amis et moi, nous sommes monter. And because, let's just say, I know for a fact that the moi here is feminine, we will add an es because now we have friends in feminine plural and as well as me as a girl, right? So don't forget to add the little agreement. Nous manger, and I'm pretty sure here that you can see that we don't have it under the être table, so we're going to go ahead with avoir, and again, no accord. Accord, okay? Vous travaillez, let's go back. Yup, it's not there, so we're going to stick with avoir. Oops. Now, Inez, Krish, Matthew, Erim, all of these were students before. I don't even know when. So we're going to keep venir. Again, we go back. It's right there, and it's venu. Okay, this is another exception. Remember, if it's an IR verb, usually it ends with an I when it comes to the participe passé. But here, it's an exception. So be careful with the French exceptions. They are a bit brutal. So sont venus, and only adding an S because Krish and Matthew are from the male gender. All right, now the last part of this video, I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek into my childhood in Mauritius. Okay, so let's see first which verbs are in passé composé and why we use avoir and être. Okay, I'm just gonna leave that last part for you to do it yourself. Okay, it's just for vocabulary's sake. Bonjour, je m'appelle Pooja. Je suis née à l'île Maurice. There we go. Here we have a passé composé. Remember, we have an être and then we have the past participle. Une fois quand j'étais petite, je suis allée à la plage Pérébert. C'est une plage pas comme les autres. Elle est très bleue avec un sable fin. Mes amis d'enfance et moi avons nagé de 11h à 15h. Puis nous avons construit un château de sable. Malheureusement, après 5 secondes, les vagues l'ont écrasé. Nous étions tristes. Dans l'ensemble, j'ai eu une joyeuse enfance. Alright, so I've already kind of did some of the work for you. I've put everything in red. Now, the question is, why are we using avoir or être? Okay, if you want, you can go back to the table, but basically the être is found, the verbs that we have here, where you see the être auxiliary is basically on the table, and then everything else is not on the table, so you'll use avoir. Okay, don't forget to take a look at the ending as well, which is very important. If you don't have an ending when it comes to être, you don't know which gender you're referring to. Alright, so hopefully this video was very helpful, guys. Don't forget to let me know if you have any questions or any clarification pertaining to which verb to use, and of course if you want to see a video when you use imparfait. And I'll see you in my next video. À plus tard!